Welcome to part 2 of how to start a business that you're going to love. I believe by now you've come up with the 5 ideas, at most 5 ideas that you want to work on. You did step number 1, that was stop and get bearing, do some reflection and get to understand self. You did step number 2, that was to list all the ideas that you can work on based on that discovery about self, your strengths, your skills, your talents. And you did step number 3, that was to examine those ideas and possibilities and narrow down and come up with 5. So if you did your first 3 steps very well, you realize that you have 2 major inclinations. So you realize that you're being attracted either to selling tangibles or intangibles. So there's those who are attracted to selling ideas, things that you cannot touch, like services, and those who are attracted to selling product, a physical product that you can see. So depending on what you're attracted to, make sure you focus on that. Now we can go to step number 4. So step number 4 is determine financial obligation for your idea. So most of the ideas or most of the businesses require capital for you to start. So it is important to determine how much you require to start. And it is advisable to cover expenses that will run your business for 3 to 6 months, because most businesses take time to peak. Most ideas, even the best ideas, require time to get attention from customers. So unless it's a revolutionary idea that is changing people's lives, like a vaccine for corona, for now, that one, the response rate can be high. But for other businesses, it requires time. So make sure you set enough money to run your business for that period that we have talked about, because you don't want to start something and then close down. One of the ways you can come up with those financial obligations is using 4 P's that are found in marketing principles of marketing. So P number 1 talks about place. You have to determine where you want to locate your business. Unless your business is online, you'll need to determine the location of your business. Even an online business, you have to cover a certain geographic. When you're starting out, you have to cover a certain geographic region. So determine the place that you want to start your business. Of course, the premises there, if it is an office or it's a warehouse or whatever premises that you'll be using, will require money to pay. So by using that P, you can determine how much it will cost you, maybe to open an office or to open a warehouse or whatever else you'll be using. You just need to move around in that area and ask how much it costs, to open an office or whatever else you'll be using. P number 2 stands for product. By using the first 3 steps that we talked about in an earlier video, I know now you have an idea of what you want to offer to the market. So whether it's a product or a service, it requires some money to produce, to come up with it. So you need to do an estimate of how much it will cost you to come up with that product. So P number 3 is promotion. You need to get your word out there so that people get to know about your product or your service. This is what we call marketing. Marketing is the heart of a business. So if you don't do marketing, then how will people get to know about your product? So it is important you have a budget. It will cost you some money. You need to have a budget for marketing. Will you be hiring people? What means of marketing will you be using? Will you be marketing in the media? Will you be marketing in the newspaper? All those means have a cost, so you need to estimate that cost, and for about 3 to 6 months and total up to get to know the financial obligation for promoting your product. And the last P is price. There are different strategies for pricing, and we'll discuss that in another video. For example, for a new product, maybe you may use what they call market penetration strategy, pricing strategy. But at this point, you'll need to determine how much your product will cost a customer to buy from you. To be able to price a product or a service properly, you need to estimate how much it has cost you to produce that product or service. So by that, knowing the cost, then you can put a margin, a profit margin that will help you to recover the cost. You're in business to make a profit, so it is important to have a margin that will help you recover some of the costs that you have talked about here. All other financial obligations that you'll be incurring, they are recovered by the price of your product. You need to have a very good strategy for pricing your product to make sure it is competitive out there, and again, at the same time, it is helping you recover your costs. All those costs that you're likely to incur to start your business, make sure you total them up and make sure you have enough money to run for about 6 months. So step number 5 is determining the legal obligation for your idea. At this step, you have to determine what type of vehicle you'll be using to get your idea out there. Is it, sole proprietorship? Is it a partnership? Is it a company? So you have to determine which vehicle you want to use to get your idea out there. Each vehicle has its own advantages and disadvantages, so it is good to determine in advance which one you're going to use depending on what you want to do. Again, each vehicle will cost you differently to start, so you can check. The government has made it easy today. You can register your business using eCitizen online, so you get to see the cost. It doesn't cost much. For a company, it costs about 10,700 or something close to that. So you can check from eCitizen and see what it costs to start each vehicle. The legal obligation, you'll need to determine permits and licenses that are charged by counties. Each county has different charges for different businesses, so it's up to you to determine, depending on your location, how much it will require you to open your business. How much do they charge for that permit or that license? So you can simply visit the nearest county offices to ask those questions. And when you visit those offices, it's also good to ask whether there are other costs that you'll need to incur to start your idea. Depending on which product or service that you'll be offering, it is important to check whether there are other bodies that regulate your field. Like, lawyers have their own regulations, doctors have their own regulations, you need practicing licenses to be offered, accountants have their own ISPAC. So check within your field. Step number 5 is action time. It's time to start taking baby steps to getting your idea out there. Even the best ideas without taking action will get you nowhere. So I'm assuming already you're doing something. It may not be what you love doing, but you're already doing something. You'll need to do some transition from what you're doing currently to whatever you love doing, whatever the new discovery that you've come up with. Some time ago, I came across some transition technique that can help you move from whatever you're doing currently to whatever you have discovered or what you want to do with your life, what you love. Technique number 1 for transition is what we call main job transition. Simply, this applies where, whatever you're doing currently is related to whatever you have discovered. So what you do in this case is start doing more of what you've discovered, what you love, what you like, and doing less of what you don't like. So for example, let's say you're in customer care and you love handling customers on the phone rather than physically. So you start doing more of handling them via phone and less of handling them physically. Or let's say you have a business that has a combination of products and services and you love selling services. You start selling less products and selling more services to facilitate the transition. So transition technique number 2 is what we call side job, or starting a side hustle and keeping your main job. You want to keep your main job to make sure your life is still running normally. Remember, as we said, your business may take 3 to 6 months before it starts making money. So you want to play safe. You don't want to just jump and, get yourself into trouble. This transition technique gives your side job or your side hustle time to grow to be able to cover your expenses just in case you decide to quit your main job. Transition technique number 3 is where you just make a leap and jump and start doing what you love. So of course, it's a bit risky. If you don't have money to cover your normal expenses, it can be stressing. So you have to be very, very careful when you make such a decision. Unless your idea is revolutionary or very unique, it is important just take baby steps. Don't just jump, because sometimes it can be very stressing when trying to build a business and you don't have money to run your normal life. If you're not in a position to take care of your basics, it's very hard to concentrate on building a business. So it is advisable to do gradual transition. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this video has added value to your life. Subscribe, like my page. See you next time. All the best.